Hello, if you've been looking for a digital piano under £1,000 here in the UK, you may well have come across the superb Kawai KDP120, and that's this model I have here. Now, there is another model which is just a couple of £100 more, which does have some improvements both in the keyboard touch and the sound and a few other features as well. And this video is to just help you make sure that you're making the right decision when you're buying a new digital piano. Now remember, you can come and see both of these models next to each other in all three of Bonner's Piano Centre showrooms. We have one on the south coast in Eastbourne, we have another one in Reigate in Surrey, just 2 minutes from junction 8 of the M25 motorway, and we have another large showroom in Milton Keynes, just off of the M1 motorway. You can check out the complete Kawai digital piano range in our stores and compare them with products from other brands as well, just to make sure you're investing in the right instrument for yourself or your family. So let's just start with an overview of the four major differences between the two models. So first of all, the keyboard action, that's different on both models. That's how it feels to play. Secondly, the piano sound is different. On the CN29, it's an upgraded piano sound over the sound that you'd hear on the KDP120. The cabinet has also been upgraded on the CN29, as has the user interface. And finally, the amplification system in the CN29 again is a cut above what you would find in the KDP120. So let's look at those four different aspects in a bit more detail and what they mean to you as the player or just the person who's actually going to pay for the piano. So when you're thinking of purchasing a digital piano, one of the most important things you must take into consideration is the keyboard touch, and that's how it actually feels to play. And it's very, very important, and more important than most other aspects of the piano. So the KDP120 is equipped with Kawai's RH Compact 2 keyboard action, whereas the CN29 has their responsive Hammer 3 keyboard. So the difference between the two is, first of all, just in the actual key surfaces themselves. The white keys on the KDP120 have got like a sort of a matte finish, whereas on the CN29 they use Kawai's simulated ivory finish, so it's got more of the feel of an acoustic piano. But a big difference between the two is that the CN29 has something called let-off simulation, which isn't available on the KDP120. Now, when you play a grand piano, what you would find is when you push the key down, just towards the bottom of the travel of the key, you feel a little bit of resistance before it hits the bottom. And that's called the let-off mechanism. Now, it's something you would only ever find on a grand piano, but the better quality digital pianos actually simulate that feel so that people who play a digital piano can easily move on to an acoustic piano and vice versa. And the CN29 has let-off simulations. So from a long-term playing point of view, you won't notice it when you're a beginner player, to be honest with you, but over a longer period of time, having the let-off simulation does make a difference to how the piano responds, and you will adjust your keyboard touch and your playing to suit that mechanism, which means you can then move on to a grand piano a bit easier than from a digital piano that doesn't have let-off simulation. So now let's talk about the actual sound quality of both instruments. So first of all, just a little bit of information about how digital pianos work, and then that will help you understand the differences between the two pianos. So when manufacturers are creating a digital piano like this, what they do is they actually record or sample, as it's known in the industry, the sound of a grand piano. So they do that by recording every single note of a grand piano one by one. They record all 88 notes of the grand piano, and they put that recording into the digital piano, and then when you play the keys on the digital piano, it's effectively playing back the recordings or the samples of the acoustic grand piano, and that's what you hear through the speakers of your digital piano. Now, the difference between the two models is that on the CN29 it has a much larger memory for those recordings of pianos, so it means that not only do they just record every single note of the grand piano, they record every single note multiple times. So from when you're playing very softly to very loudly, you will notice a difference in the timbre or the character of the sound the harder or faster you press those notes. Now the KDP120 does have multi-sampling, which is the term that's used for recording multiple sounds on every key, but there are not as many recordings on each note as there are with the CN29. So you will really notice that when you're putting more expression into your playing, that the sound does kind of develop based on how you're playing. So that's quite a big difference between the two pianos. So I thought, just as a little test, what I would do is just play a very short piece of music on the KDP120 and then play the same thing on the CN29, just to give you an indication of the difference in the sound. So as well as the core piano sounds being of a slightly better quality in the CN29, there are actually 4 additional acoustic piano voices. So in total, on the KDP120, there are 15 different sounds to choose from, or voices as the manufacturers call them. But in the CN29, there are 19 voices, and that does include 4 extra acoustic piano sounds. And you might think, well, why do I need extra piano sounds? Well, for playing different styles of music, perhaps for playing classical music, you might want a nice mellow piano sound, whereas if you're playing jazz or rock, then you want a slightly brighter piano sound. So there are an extra 4 piano sounds in the CN29. So let's just take a look at the design differences between the 2 different models. The KDP120 is available in 3 different colours. I have here the rosewood finish. It's also available in satin black and satin white. It has a fixed position music rest and there is a sliding key cover. So it's pretty much what you would expect with an entry-level digital piano. Now, if we take a look at the CN29, there are some subtle design improvements on this. First of all, it has the traditional front leg, which is what you would find on an acoustic upright piano as well. It just makes it look, have a sort, maybe a sort of more air of quality about it. There's more detailing on the sort of the edges and the corners as well. The music rest is actually able to be set at different angles as well, so it's not just fixed at this position. You can actually change the angle of the music rest. As with the KDP120, the CN29 is available in rosewood, satin black and satin white finishes. But the very big design difference is actually in the user interface on the left hand side here, because this actually has a nice bright 128 by 128 pixel OLED display screen, and what that means is that you can see on the screen what sound you've got selected, or the tempo of the metronome, or if you're recording you can see what mode you're in, and it gives you a lot of information. Whereas on the KDP120 there is no display screen, there are just some buttons, and to select various sounds or some functions, it's a case of a combination of pressing a button and one of the keys. So actually using the CN29 in practice is actually much easier because you do have that proper display screen. So now let's talk about the difference in the actual sound between the two instruments. So first of all, they both have a 2 times 20 watt sound system. So it's a total of 40 watts. Now, in the case of the KDP120, in that price category, that's very unusual. It's a very full-bodied sound, which is why this piano is so popular in that particular price category. It does sound absolutely great. But the CN29, as I said, has the 40 watt sound system, but it's powered by an Onkyo digital amplifier. Now, in Japan, Onkyo is a very well-respected, highly regarded manufacturer of audio equipment, especially high-end hi-fi equipment, and Kawai have teamed up with Onkyo to produce the amplification in their higher quality digital pianos. So although the volume is technically the same between the two, you notice a difference in the actual quality of the sound. So it's the difference between listening to perhaps a lower priced hi-fi system compared with a more premium hi-fi system. You just notice a nicer sound between the two. You can only really experience that by hearing them side by side, and as I said, you can come and do that in one of Bonner's showrooms. So that sums up all of the 4 differences between the two pianos. I have made individual demonstration videos for both models, so check the links in this video and it will take you straight to those videos. If you've got any questions about purchasing a digital piano, then please do get in touch with Bonner's. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in another one of my piano demonstration videos.